Welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Focus TV. We're joined by Octavia Wyatt, Raymond Lyons, Cardo Dudley Jr., I'm Wilson Tarver Jr., and let's get straight to it. The NFL playoffs. It's another week. Octavia, I'm sure you're happy about how things have gone this round, but the floor is yours.
And then there were four. Yeah. So it's crazy that I always get sad around this time because it means football is almost over when there's only four teams left. But at the same time, pretty excited for obvious reasons. But honestly, just because we're getting closer and closer to the Super Bowl. So there were four games this weekend for the NFC and AFC divisional rounds. The very first game was the AFC divisional round for the Kansas City Chiefs played the Jacksonville Jaguars, so the number one seed against the number four seed, and the number one seed was victorious. The Chiefs defeated the Jaguars 27-20. Probably biggest takeaways from this game is just the fact that, the Chiefs are going back to their fifth straight AFC championship, as well as the fact that Patrick Mahomes suffered a high ankle sprain in this game, and it was pretty bad. It was to the point where he was taken out of the game. He came back in for, I think, 2 plays after that, and then they took him out. And basically, you could see him on the sideline kind of losing it because apparently he was told that either he goes and gets the x-rays right then and there, or he's not going back in the game. He was saying he would do the x-rays at halftime. But Andy Reid wasn't having that, so told him he needed to go into the locker room at that time to get it. So that's when he went in. And backup quarterback Chad Henne came in, and all he did was just do a 98-yard drive for a touchdown. So they didn't skip a beat when it comes to that. Travis Kelce, amazing as always. It's just crazy how good he is. To be honest, he had 14 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, Chad Henne led a 98-yard touchdown drive. And the 14 catches that Travis Kelce had was a career high for him in the game. And then the big offseason talk about the Chiefs before the season started was, could they replace the production of Tyreek Hill? And as we see, Travis Kelce's had an all-pro year. Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster are also having pretty good years coming in. And then, of course, Kadarius Toney, ever since he came over from the Giants, he's been a big play threat for them as well. And he had a really good game as well. So it was, the Jaguars, they did all they could. They also just had some inopportune situations come up. They were even down, but they were close to coming down to a score. But Jamal Agnew had a turnover. Fumbled the ball around, I think it was the 5-yard line. And that kind of just stymied their run, and they just never really got a chance to go back. And then once they did get the ball back, Trevor Lawrence threw an interception with about 5.5 minutes left to go. So they just didn't have enough. Kudos to the Jaguars. Again, I think Doug Peterson is a great coach, pulling them out of the last 2 tumultuous seasons that they've had for them to win their division, win a game, and have a chance to go to the AFC championships is great. And also remember, they have a lot of talent, with Trevor Lawrence. I'll be the first person to say I talked a lot of trash about the contract they gave Christian Kirk. He seems to be worth it this year. Zay Jones come along. Evan Ingram had a resurgence after the situation he had in New York. And then I think we all forgot that they also have Calvin Ridley coming back next year. So it's pretty nice to be down in Jacksonville right now. I think they'll do nothing but increase and get better next year. So they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. But it's back to the Chiefs. Mahomes improved to 5-0 in the divisional round of the playoffs. He's thrown 28 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions in 10 home playoff games. He's just kind of ridiculous. But of course, the biggest question mark is going to be how is that ankle going to respond next week when they're playing the AFC Championship, and they will be playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, who defeated the Bills 27-10. The Bengals just started fast and never looked back. It was literally from the jump. They took the ball first. Burrow completed his first 9 passes for 105 yards. They got out to 14-0 pretty quick. Jamar Chase opened the scoring with a 28-yard touchdown with 3 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. followed by Burrow's 15-yard touchdown throw to Hayden Hurst 8 minutes later. And then Joe Mixon scored on a 1-yard run. And then Evan McPherson made a field goals from 20 yards away and 28 yards away. In a game that the Bengals never were behind in. You can tell the Bengals had a chip on their shoulder all week. I mean, even last week with the touchdown celebration from Joe Mixon, who literally took a coin out of his gloves for his touchdown celebration and kicked it because they were so upset hearing about the coin flip that could possibly happen. So this week, the big talk was that the NFL was selling tickets to the proposed neutral site game. If the Cincinnati Bengals would have lost, it would have been the Bills and the Chiefs, and they would have played at a neutral site, which would have been in Atlanta. So they had a lot that they just really wanted to kind of get off their chest, and it seemed like it from the jump. The Bills had a pretty tumultuous season themselves outside of the situation that happened with Damar Hamlin. They had the top shooting that happened up there with the shooting at the grocery store. They've had countless situations with weather out there. So they've had a pretty tumultuous season off the field. And then we know probably the biggest story for them on the field outside of Damar Hamlin would have been the injury that happened earlier in the season to Josh Allen. But they just had no rhythm. The offense could do nothing. They really couldn't get a running game started. And honestly, I think that's always been an issue for them. They tried to address it with Nyheim Hines coming in, but he was primarily used for returning. I think they let him get a couple of touches in this game because they were trying to get a spark. James Cook, who I thought would definitely have a better season as a rookie, just didn't. And Devin Singletary is just, in my opinion, average, not a terrible running back. But he's nothing that's like a home run hitter. So I think that that's something they really need to look at because, I mean, they all knew they was throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs. And Stephon Diggs visibly upset on the sideline because he couldn't get the ball. I feel for him. He's Maryland's own. I feel for him. He fought to get out of Minnesota for situations like this, and he's kind of back in the same situation, at least in this game. I definitely think it's a complete upgrade from his situation in Minnesota, of course. But it's just, again, 3 years, and they were basically, they lost in the divisional round, especially from the last year when they lost that tough game against the Kansas City Chiefs last year. But the Bengals offense just appeared better equipped for the elements. With the snow, which is crazy. I have a friend who's a Bills fan, and he's the first person to say every time they need to build a dome. He was like, we can't play in the snow. We're a team that's up here in the snow, but we don't play good in the snow, so we need to build a dome. So I'm sure that's something that they're looking into. But the Bengals extended their franchise best streak to 10 straight wins. They haven't lost a game since a 32-13 defeat in Cleveland on Halloween. The Bengals' 30 first downs were a franchise postseason record. They were also the most allowed by the Bills since last year Kansas City lost in the divisional round. So it was, I mean, Joe Burrow's looking, I mean, I think they say he has 5 playoff wins himself. And the Bengals didn't have 5 in their entire existence before him, or they only had 5, so he equaled it. So Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, the defense is playing well, especially because they were also without 3 offensive line starters. And we know that their offensive line was a struggle last year with Joe Burrow getting sacked as much as he did. So they were able to pull it together and get the win. So it'll be the Kansas City Chiefs against the Cincinnati Bengals. They will be coming to Kansas City to play against them next week on Sunday. To the NFC, the number 1 Eagles defeated the number 6 Giants 38-7. I was telling Wilson before we got on air that I was, for whatever reason, nervous. I don't know why. It is probably because I watched too much ESPN this week. There was a lot of trash talk going on this week about how great the Giants looked last week against the Vikings. Is Jalen Hurts healthy? I don't know. Is it going to be good? If he's not healthy, it's going to be a situation. Jalen is fine. He came out very first play of the game, threw a nice pretty pass to AJ Brown. And it was just kind of up from there, to be completely honest. The Philadelphia Eagles rushed for 268 yards, which was the second most in franchise history in the postseason. Miles Sanders had 90 yards on 17 carries, while Kenneth Gainwell logged 112 rushing yards on just 12 carries. And Boston Scott added 32 rushing yards with his 11th career touchdown against the Giants. The Eagles as a team, like I said, rushed for 268 yards, which was more than the total offense for the Giants had, which was at 253. So it was, it was what we all would have expected had there not been any quote unquote questions about Jalen's health, and had there not been this hoopla over the game last week that the Giants played against the Vikings. We know that the Vikings defense and the Eagles defense are not the same. The Eagles defense, just like I talked about the offense, the defense had a stellar game as well. The defense sacked the Giants quarterback 5 times and generated 26 pressures on Daniel Jones. On Daniel Jones' 35 dropbacks. The sacks included 1.5 from Hassan Reddick, 1.5 from Sweat, a sack from Cox, and a sack from BG, Brandon Graham. It was just, they outclassed them. They were the better team. You can see that from top to bottom. The Giants had a great run. They weren't even supposed to be here. Kudos to their organization, Brian Daboll. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year. I think there has been some talks about, are they going to franchise tag Saquon, or are they going to franchise tag Daniel Jones? So they will be figuring that out in this offseason. And last but not least, the number 2 Niners defeated the number 5 Cowboys 19-12. To be completely honest, it was almost a pretty even game. And it was the defense were both playing lights out, to be completely honest. To me, the one play that proved to be the turning point or the momentum swing in the San Francisco 49ers direction would be the pass from Brock Purdy over the middle to George Kittle. I don't know how he caught the ball. He bobbled it like 17 times, and literally as soon as he grabbed it, you could see Trayvon Diggs just fly right past him. So I think from that was kind of the momentum. And then after that, they were able to put together 2 long drives to go down and score. They used back-to-back long scoring drives in the second half to wear down the Cowboys defense and win their 12th game so far. So that was probably the biggest turnaround. And then also, Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions. Brett Maher missed his 5th extra point of the postseason, although the attempt was blocked. It did not look like it was going in anyway, but we will never know. I will not put that on him. It was blocked. To be honest, I never like to put an entire game loss on one player. I think a lot of people are doing that to Dak, and it was a team effort, to be completely honest. Both the offense and the defense had opportunities to come away with big plays to kind of help them. Trayvon Diggs dropped the interception right in his hands. Michael Gallup, dropped a couple passes. CeeDee Lamb, had a lights out game. He played really, really well. And then the other big factor is that Tony Pollard got injured in that game. I've said this all year. Tony Pollard is their number 1. I don't know why they keep going back and forth between him and Zeke. As you can see, Zeke couldn't really get it done. And I don't know what this last play of the game was. I don't know. I have no idea why they would let Zeke go out like that, because it's a possibility that could be his last game as a Cowboy, the center. I don't know what it was. But again, it kind of came down to just to me, the big thing everybody's talking about is Dak, and then they're talking about coaching. I think a lot of it is both, to be completely honest. The coaching, you can tell they're just not disciplined enough. There was a lot of small situations that happened that definitely impacted the game big. The interceptions, of course, with Dak. Now, granted, the catch at the end of the game, you really don't know what would have happened with Van Der Esch, who didn't get his second foot down. Stuff like that. The penalties, Tyron Smith had been doing pretty well all year with the penalties, but he started the game off with back-to-back penalties. And then time management, clock management has always seems to be an issue again, as it was last year. So they have a lot to look back on. They got a lot of things to decide on as far as what their direction is going to be going next year. Jerry Jones has already come out and said that Mike McCarthy will be back. I'm interested to hear from a lot of fans about what their perspective is of that. But we all know Jerry tends to hold on to coaches a lot longer than a lot of people probably would. So that doesn't surprise me. So the 49ers will be coming to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. They will play Sunday at 3:00. And then, like I said, the Bengals will be coming to Kansas City, and that game will be at 6:30. It's going to be some good games. I've already kind of warned Wilson I might not be here next week. Don't know. Kind of depends on how the game goes. We've already had a truce, though, that there will be no trash talk from either one of us. So I'm hoping that we can hold true to that. But I'm honestly just looking. I'm looking forward to a good game. I'm hoping that we win. Of course, I'm going to pick us to win. And I honestly, if Patrick's not 100%, I'm probably going with the Bengals. Unless Patrick is just, don't get me wrong, Patrick he's the guy. But the Bengals have had his number the last couple of years. It seems like I believe Joe Burrow's 4-0 against him. So it's going to be a really interesting division championship Sunday, and then we will see who goes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, man. Season's almost over. But Cardell and Ray, you guys' thoughts, I guess, before we move on, just on whether it was a divisional round or coming up next in the championship round. Ray, you can go first, then Cardell.
Yeah. That last play in the Dallas game, that was foolishness, man. Like, I don't know what them dudes is out there doing. They was trying to run the annexation of Puerto Rico. But yeah, I'm not surprised that Jerry wants McCarthy back. What are we on, year 28 of mediocrity? It's just not surprising at this point. In regards to the Chiefs, they pulled it out with Mahomes, Samford, man. That's, you got to give it up to him. But you, like Octavia said, you got to wonder what his health is going to be like moving forward. But yeah, man. And Jacksonville, people keep saying every positive thing they do is more evidence that Urban Meyer needs to be in prison. Because that was just ridiculous. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the conference championships. Philly and San Fran, that's gonna be a great game. Yeah, I got no dog in the fight. If I had to pick, I guess I go Philly. On the other side, I'm gonna go to Bengals, man. Joe Burrow, he's on one. And again, who knows what type of shape Mahomes is going to be in, and if he's unavailable and Chad Henne has to come out and do it from jump, I'm not too sure about that. So yeah, man. Well, that's a Philly Cincinnati Super Bowl.
All right, Cardell.
Yeah, for me, I guess, in the NFC, I'm favoring Philly because of home field. But also the quarterback, so someone's there. I trust Jalen obviously over the Thursday now. Trey was there, even to more of an extent like Jimmy because of experience. It'd be tougher. It would be tough, especially with the defense the 49ers have. But gotta go that route. And then in the AFC, it's against my Bronco-ness to go with the Chiefs and everything. So yes, Joe Burrows, and hopefully it's a thorough beatdown. Let's go.
Y'all can get Sean Payton next year, though.
I'm tired of hoping for this and that. Just get better. Get better.
I could respect that. I could definitely respect that. Because everywhere else in the world, people are just jumping out, both feet out the window. No disrespect to Sean Payton, but he's not coming with Drew Brees. The Saints defense of old, none of that stuff's coming with him. We don't know what's coming with. So everyone should take a deep breath before going crazy about all these possible things. It's been 24 hours, man. Folks trying to send Dak to Siberia already. Like,
oh, they want him gone. It's fair.
Like it's a better quarterback out there just walking the street. They could just replace him with.
Like, and my little only 2 cents here is I think I'm probably gonna go. I'm probably going to lean KC and San Fran, and the only reason I'm going them, the coach has been here before, both of them. Like regardless of what's going on, like, and Andy's a bad man. That's one dude I just don't really mess around with betting against, especially since he found, SpongeBob over there, Mahomes. I don't really mess with it too much. Like them two together, I know Mahomes is a little hobbled or whatnot. I actually like what they've done this year quietly with the rest of their team. They don't get a lot of credit for it because, Mahomes and Kelsey's exciting. Everyone loves offense. Thought they got a little bit better defensively this year. But me and my 2 cents doesn't mean much. With the Philly game, look, it's no competition at quarterback. Look, one of the dudes, the MVP candidate, the other dude is another dude in a long list of lines that is playing in the Kyle Shanahan system. We've seen that stiff system has had Jared Goff in the Super Bowl. We've all lived here while Kirk Cousins was here. So what I'm not about to do is jump out any windows with 2 feet talking about this dude's this or that. I just don't know where I'm at with Sirianni yet. That's the only thing. Just it's one of those things where some coaches, like, we find out about you when you're in that moment. And like this Big Andy and Kyle, I trust him a little bit more than Zach and Nick at this point. But I'm looking forward to a good weekend of football. That's it, Ray. Your Wizards, sir.
Oh, the Wizards. Well, they won their last game. They were at home against the Magic on Saturday. It was a dominant win. Came with some casualties, which I'll get into later. But yeah, man, it was a thorough win. They completely controlled the game. If it wasn't for Markelle Fultz, just kind of controlling things and running the show for the Magic, then it would have been worse than what it was. But yeah, man, they they were solid. They shot 54% from the field, 53% from three. It doesn't really get much better than that. 34 assists, so they were sharing the ball. DeLon Wright, he typically isn't a big scorer, but he was a little aggressive offensively. He had 15 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, 5 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3-point range, 2 for 2 from the free throw line. So I mean, he didn't miss a shot. And he's capable, but that's really not his forte. But if he's looking for it like that, along with the way that he can set the table for other guys, and of course the defensive intensity he brings, man, that's big for their second unit. Porzingis, he went down in this game with a bad ankle, so he's going to be out for some time. But Gav, man, he came with that energy. He's been getting to it lately. And that's needed for them. It's going to be needed even more now with Porzingis sideline. Kuz, he had 25, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. Bradley Beal still kind of working his way back. He had 17. So pretty good all around game for the Wizards. Rui Hachimura, the recently departed Rui Hachimura, he had 30 points off the bench. But yeah, now he's no longer with us. So it is what it is, man. I don't expect much from this front office at this point. I just don't understand why that's the piece you decided to move. I really don't think the trade market was going to work out to their benefit anyway, because it's not like, they're just a piece away where they need to, where if they get somebody, they move into contender status. I think they have something solid to build around, and they move one of the core pieces of that. So, we'll see where they go from here. But as Wilson likes to say, if you're going to do it right, go ahead and push every color button you have, because you're not going to piece it together with what you have here. So who knows, man? But yeah, we definitely enjoyed Rui the time he was here. He was really starting to come into his own. We saw what they were missing from when we was injured earlier. We was talking about it before we got on air, and that was in the midst of that 10-game losing streak when they didn't have him coming off the bench. And him and DeLon Wright got back into the lineup, things kind of almost immediately turned around. So man, wish him the best of luck in LA. And yeah, man, the Wizards, they got Dallas tonight. Looks like they just tipped off. So we'll see you later on for Wizards Outlook to recap that game.
Carter or Octavia, if y'all want to share any thoughts on the Rui Hachimura trade to the Lakers.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Just like you've already eloquently stated. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I can't really figure out what their plan is. It seems like they don't know what their plan is either. So it's kind of head scratching. When it just to me it didn't make any sense. Like and to get 3 2s back from it was just kind of like your former top 10 pick, and that's all it's worth. Okay, so yeah, I'm with you. Where like I'm still kind of scratching my head. Maybe there's a bigger plan than we don't know about. I don't know. I doubt it, but gotta keep the faith, I guess. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Carter.
Yeah, well, me, it was just simple. He's up for extension. He's eligible for a 5-year, $188 million extension. They obviously can't afford that without going deep in the luxury tax. Obviously after paying Bill, you got Porzingis and Kuz on the books, but they only have 1 more year after this year, so you're gonna be looking to re-sign them, and then you got Rui up, and then right on the heels of Kuz and Porzingis, whatever happens with them, you got Denny, then you got Kispert. So I think Rui wasn't bending on what he wanted, what he felt he was worth, which I'm not mad at. So they shipped him. The only thing is, it's like you couldn't get better value for him. That's the only thing with me. Like, I get you can't afford him. Clearly the team, isn't good enough where you think they can win a championship. So there's no point in going deeper into the luxury tax or whatnot. So I get that part, but man, you gotta if you're gonna trade them, get some young players that is ready to potentially could be ready to rock and roll or something, man. And it's no disrespect to Kendrick Nunn. When he's healthy, we saw what he did in Miami. He could ball. It's not that. He just ain't been healthy the last couple of years. And then you just basically get him and a bunch of second-round picks that you can't put to use until, damn, my damn daughter about to be in high school. What's the point? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, picks when some people may not even be around to pick them. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's the part I don't get, especially if you're trying to build around this core. Why don't you get some more young assets, plenty of them around the league, guys with, potential, talent, but they just haven't put it all together and they're not consistent. Look, it's confusing, but, with this franchise, nothing is ever just smooth and nothing ever really makes sense. So I'm just, I'm indifferent, but I am happy for Rui. I like his game. I really think he's the piece the Lakers were missing. He's automatic from mid-range. He can get you anywhere from 15 to 30, depending on what's required. Even though out there he probably won't be required. He can guard multiple positions. He can pass well. And he don't rock the boat, man. He's a true professional. So whatever role they need, he just going to willingly buy in. And, he's another wing that you could throw him and the Troy Browns and stuff at the Kawhis and Paul George, and LeBron can stay fresh and just play offense for real. You know what I mean? And that gives them more depth coming off the bench or whatnot. So I don't know what it is with the Lakers that the Wizards just keep giving them some talent. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers go on the surge, go on the run, because this is I don't think people understand how good Rui is, because he kind of got stuck. Once he came off that break, once they got Kuz or whatnot, he kind of got stuck behind that. And Kuz ball, it ain't no knocking against him. He been balling, so you can't knock that. But I don't know. I think Rui overall was playing better than the Kisperts and the Denny's of the world that they were force feeding. And now it makes sense why they were trying to force feed the starting lineup to kind of diminish Rui's value. So he couldn't demand that money and be looking for a trade. So I see why he ain't budging. Now it all makes sense, because it didn't make sense if you was looking at the play on the floor. So that further shows little BS that's what's going on, man. So, and like Rui, one of the most humble NBA players I've interacted with, man. When they asked him he want to get traded, he was like, "No comment." That's out. There's some BS going on. So, yeah, it hasn't been a good week for the Wizards following John Wall's comments about everything. So, but for us, it's just another day in Wizardland.
Pretty much. That's the sad part. It's just Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday. It could be any day messing around with them. But yeah, my little 2 cents just it's kind of crazy because they lost Kuz. Kuz comes to Washington and they were like, hey, we need something to fill that void. Hey, Washington, you guys got anything for us? Sure. We got Rui Hachimura. Cool. Thanks. Good deal. Everybody's happy. And of course, anybody that goes to the Lakers, and I'm sure he'll not a knock on Troy Brown Jr., Rui's going to be a tad bit more productive immediately upon landing with the Lakers. All of a sudden, everyone's going to hear the name Rui Hachimura, and people are going to be wondering what the heck happened and how did he end up there, and we all know why. So we're going to take our first break. When we get back, jump into college basketball. You're watching Focus TV. Welcome back to the Focus TV, as promised, the college basketball segment. Starting off with George Washington men's basketball. Cardell.
Yeah, GW, the perimeter attack, suffocating team defense. It just proved to be too much as they beat. They actually led wire to wire to defeat Dayton 76-69 over the weekend, improving to 10-9 overall, 4-2 and A-10 conference play. It was actually a battle of A-10 Player of the Year candidates, and GW's James Bishop and Dayton's Dayron Holmes the second, but James Bishop won this battle convincingly. He led away with a game high 27 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. Backcourt mate fellow Baltimore native Brandon Adams added 18 points, 8 rebounds, and Max Edwards, the redshirt freshman, contributed 15 points and 6 rebounds. Tumani Kamara, paced Dayton with 16 points and 8 rebounds, while Dayron Holmes, he added 14 points and 10 rebounds, but he wasn't efficient at all. They did a good job on him. GW was outstanding defensively, as I mentioned. They held Dayton to 35% shooting from the floor for the game, but it includes, in the first half, they held them to 22 points on 26% shooting. And that was pretty much the difference in the game. It was hard for Dayton, even though they did make a run late to kind of get it within single digits, where GW had to make their free throws. It was all over pretty much at that point. GW would have had to really implode for Dayton to pull that off. It was just too much of a gap, and GW just playing too well defensively. Speaking on Dayron Holmes, he entered the game third in the league in scoring, but was held to 14 points on 15 shots. So, I tell people this all the time. They look at the points. I always go to the shots. If they're taking close to as many shots as they scored, then it wasn't a good game, because anybody throw up a lot of shots, some of them bound to go in. And just a law of averages, some of them going to eventually go in, man. So he didn't have a good game, and they needed him to have a good game. Because outside of him, Kamara, a couple other players, they really can't get a lot of consistent offense from a lot of guys. But he's just been playing lights out this year until he ran into GW, and Ricky Lando Jr. and Hunter Dean, man, they was all over him. They didn't score that much. You could tell their whole focus was shutting him down, making him highly inefficient. They did, and it worked. They got the W. Max Edwards been on one the last 3 games. I think the lowest he scored 14, the highest he scored 24, but he's been efficient, close to around 50% of each game, man. So he's coming to his own and becoming the X factor for GW, where they can't just focus on the backcourt, so to speak. He's becoming that third option, sometimes even second option behind Bishop, depending on what's going on with Adams. And it's a deadly perimeter attack where if all those guys are playing at top of their games, they could each get 20 plus. And in college, 60 points is enough to win any game. You know what I mean? If you're playing lights out defense, which they're capable of. So that's why they're always dangerous game in, game out. They just got to be more consistent. Speaking of the backcourt, James Bishop spoke a lot about him and Brandon Adams. The growth I've seen in them this season so far from last year is they were using James Bishop with the last coach, because it's a new coach. the previous coach used James Bishop like James Harden. You know, he was ball dominant. Brandon Adams really didn't get the ball unless Bishop was in trouble. He was in the corner and had a spot up for three, or the shot clock was running down. This year, they're both taking turns playing on and off the ball. So they're both using their versatility. Adams is doing a good job of facilitating, being their first line of defense. He's pretty much their defensive stopper on the perimeter. And he's scoring well. He's shooting well from deep as well. So it makes it hard for teams to key in on one of them when they're both capable of being a point guard one play, and then the very next play they're playing the two, and they're both scoring efficiently, and they both can make passes and get others involved. It's just really hard to game plan for that. So you, in a sense, you got to guard those guys straight up, and if you guard them straight up, you're playing right into their hands. They're good enough to beat, single coverage defense, and then whatever they may miss or whatnot. Lendo and Hunter Dean, two athletic bigs, they're capable of cleaning that up. And then obviously you got Max Edwards doing what he does. When GW loses is when they're kind of cold a little bit. And sometimes the depth off the bench is not where it need to be. That's kind of what happens with GW when they lose. But when they're clicking, they can beat anybody in the conference. So it was a good win because Dayton is the favorite to win it. I think right now in the standings, they're third. St. Louis is second. GW is fourth, and at the top is VCU. Since I've been covering GW, VCU probably been at the top the most. You know what I mean? So they got to deal with them. But it was a good win to beat the conference favorite, and it kind of woke a lot of people up. They just got to continue to win, to pile up these wins in conference play, and then they'll be on their way. Their next game is actually tomorrow. I'll be in the building at Smith Center. They play St. Joseph at 7 p.m. The game will be on ESPN+.
All right, on to Maryland Women's. They picked up 2 conference wins on the road last week. The first being a 77-64 win over Wisconsin. We've talked about the Terps, and sometimes there's slow starts at times this year and how much it's cost them. That wasn't the case as they started that game on a 22-6 run. Cheyenne Sellers tied a career high with 21 points. Diamond Miller scored 19. 16 of her 19 came in the second half. It was a wire-to-wire road win for the Terps. Never a bad thing this time of year to pick up conference wins. They then went to Nebraska and used a big-time defensive effort, specifically in the first half, to get that win. Maryland held Nebraska to just 14 points in the first half. Again, just 20 minutes of play, 14 points in that half. Similar to the win against Wisconsin, Maryland got off to a good start, and they just never looked back. Sellers recorded her first double-double of the year with 20 points and 11 rebounds. Diamond Miller added 18 points. But again, it was just their defensive pressure. We know when they're at their best, ball pressure side, they like to get out. Brenda has them pressing quite a bit. They forced 5 of their 22 turnovers in the first quarter, and that was kind of it for Nebraska. Usually once Maryland gets out, it starts running. It's hard without experienced ball handlers to turn that switch off. Once you start kind of giving it up with them, they are very long and athletic in certain spots. They get off to the races. It's kind of night-night. Neither team shot particularly well. So, when we talk, we've seen enough things where, we talk, not to keep going back to the Wizards, but see nights where with the last couple of years, we talk about offenses an issue, how a good defense can carry you. Both teams shot 30-some%. Maryland won comfortably because defense. You keep turning the other team over. Yeah, you're missing some shots. You're getting possessions. You're taking possessions at that. But again, great defense goes a long way. Up next, Maryland's going to host 13th ranked Michigan on Thursday and then Penn State on Monday. So they had 2 conference road games last week. You turn around this week with 2 home conference games. They got a chance to continue stacking that resume as we get closer and closer to conference tournaments and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes next week when we talk to you guys. That's what I have for you. As far as the 9-4-50 breakdown this week, Jamal Hayward will be breaking down a 3-dribble combo move incorporating a jab cross. Again, 3-dribble combo move incorporating a jab cross. Then we'll return, talk a little WNBA free agency, see what time we have left for rapid fire, because I know Octavia brought it up last week when we thought about the Jonquel Jones trade. She wasn't the only one that got traded between then and this week, and then we'll get Cardell's thoughts on it as well, too, because, one thing was, Jonquel got traded then. There's some other movement, and then some other folks are having visits. It's a lot going on. But you're watching Focus TV. We'll see you guys on the other side of the break.
RJ's guarding me here. Here. Jab, get it rocking. Jab, cross again. I'm calling from the sure we focus on our footwork here, all right? So after this jab here, jab cross. We go with feet again. Hard lean. Once again. Shot. Got it? Same thing on that side. Stop.
I want to thank Jamal Haber for knocking out the 9-4-50 breakdown this week. That said, WNBA free agency, January 15th was the date that Jonquel Jones got traded. It was a three-way trade between the Liberty, the Sun, and the Wings. The Liberty received Jonquel Jones and Kayla Thornton. The Sun received Rebecca Allen and Ty Harris, along with the 6th overall pick in this year's draft, while the Wings received Natasha Howard and Crystal Dangerfield. Carter, I want to start with you and get your thoughts on the trade, then we'll work our way back around.
Changes things in the East quite a bit. It's an understatement. You know, look, man. I think in Connecticut we all saw at the end of the season, Kurt Miller ain't had nothing to do with his coaching or whatnot. But sometimes the voice it don't reach the players the same. And you could just see it, you know, with the way they were playing. They were losing games they normally want to lose. I think it all really honestly started when Jasmine, when she went down for the year. And then it was the floodgates just opened after that, man. They tried to bounce back and, you know, make a run, but it wasn't the same. And you could just tell that they weren't in cohesion like in years past. And, you know, and that's the thing about sports. Who would have known that with that group, that Connecticut Sun group that was ultra talented, that they peaked in the 2019 finals, you know, when they lost to the Mystics. You know, you would think like, all right, they're gonna be around for the next few years challenging for a ring. And they never really, I mean, they did get back. They battle Asia and all those guys. Chicago, all that. They were close, but they never got on him and won it. You know what I mean? And part of it was they couldn't stay healthy. I remember one year Alicia was banged up, and last year Jasmine was banged up. There were times with Jonquel it wasn't over a length of period of time as long, but it was short stints where she was banged up, and it just shows it's true. A little luck is involved, man, but a lot of other stuff also got me involved to win, man. You know what I mean? And you know, look, I think once Kurt, I believe he went out to LA to coach them, right? In the all season, right? Kurt Miller. So he left them. Yeah, he went to go coach them. I think that was it. And I think John Pearl just like, look, I'm out. Let me go get a fresh start. I don't want, you know, it's one thing to stay stagnant here, and then, you know, you got to try to build things up with a new coach. You know, at least in New York, for what she's looking for probably at this point in her career, she's looking to grow. You know what I mean? She been in Connecticut, no disrespect to Connecticut. It's not New York. New York is a different environment. You can, you know, Connecticut women's basketball is huge. You know, she was kind of a big fish in a small pond. Now she could just blend in. You know what I mean? And just focus on basketball and just be another person out there, so to speak. But it's deep basketball ties, but she can still keep that connection, and then just try to build some liberty. Like I'm excited to see how the two woman game between her and Ionescu look. That's gonna be crazy. Like I think now you're gonna see Ionescu, because remember last time she had a big of this caliber, I know, was in college. They did some historical things. Now she got one of them unicorns. You know what I mean? And one of the weaknesses for Ionescu at times is her on-ball defense. She ain't got to worry about that with Jonquel back there no more. You see what I'm saying? So the versatility of that team is just grown. And ironically, they just happen to be in the same conference as the Mystics. So it's going to be interesting to see how they clash, because, you know, Ionescu, Tosh, and Ariel, they be having their little battles, man. It's fun watching them go at it, man. So it's going to be fun, you know. But I wish her the best, man. You know, going all the way back to GW, always a big fan of hers, man. She always solid, always the same. She never really changed like some players do. You know what I mean? So as long as she happy, I'm cool with it, man. But sometimes it's just time to move on, because you outgrow that time, you outgrow that place. And you know, I'm not mad at that at all.
Octavia, Ray, you guys have anything to add on that trade before I bring up the next trade? If not, because I know we talked about a little bit last week, so I just want to give y'all an opportunity if y'all did.
I want to see it. That's just gonna be crazy. To be honest, like that's just wild.
Ray.
No, I would just say I agree with Cardell, man. I think that group had just run its course together, and it was time for everybody to move on. And once that one piece moved with Kurt going to coach the Sparks, then the writing was pretty much on the wall.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about sometimes. A lot of times, in sports like that opportunity, people just and it's not to say they didn't make the most of the opportunity, but just how few those opportunities come across, and if you can't capitalize, like it's not, a lot of fans be, oh man, we'll be back there next year. Yeah, it doesn't work like that for everybody. Sometimes it's the last iteration of that team that you see. Like you guys said, ran its course. That said, another trade that happened. I think this one was on the 20th. Oh, this one's on the 16th. I'm sorry. We saw the Sparks send Olivia Nelson-Adota, Jasmine Walker, and the negotiating rights to Kiana Smith to Connecticut for Jasmine Thomas and the 10th overall pick. So like you guys said, Kurt's over there. Go ahead, Cardo.
Just have to see what that 10th pick is to really see who won this trade and see how Jasmine is coming off the ACL. See if she's back to being her. That's tough, man. It's messed up to see, like for women when they tear their ACL, they jack up their knee. It seems like it affects them more than the men. You know what I mean? Take them a little bit longer. So, the men complain about the long season. We're going to get into that later. But, the women, the WNBA season is grueling because it's really compact. You know what I mean? So for her to come off the ACL, man, I'm not even sure she's going to be ready at the beginning of the season. But she got a few months. We'll see. But that's the only time we can really evaluate it. But, yeah, Kurt, LA underachieved, man. So you gotta get some of that quote-unquote dead weight up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Start building it back up like you did in Connecticut, man. And happy for him as well. Look, man, change the scenery sometimes is what's needed. You know what I mean? Like he like, man, I'm tired of Connecticut winners. I'm tired of people confusing me with Gino. You know what I'm saying? I'm Gino when I go places, dog. I'm not that dude. I'm in LA. I could kind of explore myself and spread my wings. So we'll see how it goes once they're healthy and depending on who they pick in the draft.
All right. Anybody else thoughts on that trade? Then I just have one more to bring up.
I think Kurt definitely wanted somebody familiar over there, but the Sparks could be in the midst of transition because I think Brittany Sykes is an unrestricted free agent, as well as Nneka Ogwumike. So they got some figuring out to do. Of course, there's talks of Candace Parker possibly going in free agency. But who knows, man? Who knows what they'll look like once the season starts.
Octavia.
No, I agree. I think the biggest thing, like Cardell said, is just seeing how Jasmine Thomas comes back off of the injury. Like that's the one thing I'm looking forward to the most. And then you can also just tell that Connecticut is really, we already knew they were starting to know, but getting 3 young players and see what they could do with them and develop them and see what they can then possibly, move their franchise. So I think all in all, it'll be a win-win for both sides just because of what they're looking to do.
All right, then the last of the trades we saw the reigning champs, the Las Vegas Aces trade De'Arica Hamby to the Sparks. De'Arica Hamby and a 2024 first round pick, to the Sparks for Amanda Zuibi and a 24 second round pick. So Kurt's over there and already seeing what they're kind of like, what they're looking at. Like you said, Ray, keep in mind folks that could be leaving as unrestricted free agents. I feel like not enough people making a big deal about De'Arica Hamby leaving the Aces, but hey, you guys' thoughts on it? Again, Cardell, we'll start with you, then Octavia, then Ray.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's just that they forgot what she could do because she kind of fell out of favor with him. I saw some of her comments about all that out the door. I kind of, look, man, no disrespect, man. These days with athletes, I kind of take it with a grain of salt because if agent ain't saying nothing, you know what I mean? I kind of look to what the stars say. You know what I mean? I know they get treated different, but if they say it's BS, I'm like, yeah, there may be some BS going on. You know what I mean? So, and then plus these days, athletes, they complain about the slightest thing. It's just hard to, like, yo, you know, so. But I think they just forgot, man, how dangerous she is because of just last year. You know how it is. This is what have you done for me lately? Society more than ever. You know, I haven't. I remember how she gave the Mystics fits. She gave a lot of teams fits when she came off the bench because she was just a different look, man. 6'4". She has unicorn potential. She just ain't tapped into all that. Maybe Kirk feel like he can get that out of her. You know what I mean? She can shoot it. She can run the floor. She can defend multiple positions. She can rebound. She's tough. You know, she was just stuck at the time behind Cambage and Asia Wilson. So, you know, she had to get in when she could fit in. I think she hit game winners in the playoffs during that run. You know what I'm saying? So she's high quality, man. And look, if they can match her with a Bumake, the Neca, the other one, you know, I don't, come on now. You know, no disrespect, man. She look. She talk like Draymond, but she ain't got that Draymond resume. She need to cool it sometimes, man. But real talk. But if you compare them two and he can get something out of her that she hasn't shown yet, come on, man. That elevates LA automatically just off that. So it's gonna be real interesting. And I know she's gonna be motivated because she didn't have the season that she probably expected of herself, and that those of us that know what she can do expect. So she's gonna be motivated and hungry.
Octavia.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just like you said, I think a lot of people just forgot because of the time she's been off from, you know, pregnancy and then the time of her injuries. As far as the accusations, again, like you said, it's always really hard to kind of take into account of what's true and what's not true. All I will say is if it was true, that's kind of terrible. As a woman to have to go through that, because I know it's real tough when women get pregnant and try to go back and play again. So hopefully there's nothing too terrible about the situation, but again, we'll never know. But yeah, I'm excited to see her, you know, kind of really get back into it. Because like you said, sometimes you just need a fresh start. And I think it seems like the Sparks are trying to, you know, rebuild their franchise. And I think she would be a good piece out there. So I'm excited to see her get back on the court and play, especially coming off, you know, kind of a tumultuous year for her with her injury and still kind of coming up with a championship at the end of it. So hopefully she can kind of maybe feel, I don't know if she does or doesn't, but feel more involved in the whole situation, being that she was hurt through some of the year.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good get for LA, man. Like Adele said, man, she's talented. You know, she got a lot of tools in her toolbox. So you know, hopefully she can you know, she can be more healthy this season. So she can be on the floor more and able to impact the game. But yeah, I feel like that definitely should be a bigger talking point. You know, she's been a huge piece of the Aces through their ascension. And I mean, I guess her contributions kind of get overlooked because she missed the bulk of the year where they, you know, finally were able to get the championship. But yeah, they're gonna have to find a way to you know, replace what they lost when she left. And yeah, I just hope that you know, she wasn't treated how, you know, she depicted in her statement, because those were some damning accusations. You know, and if she was, man, just, you know, just hopefully she's in a place mentally where, you know, she can move forward and still able to compete. But yeah, man, just wish her the best in her new spot.
All right, on to rapid fire. I know you got a couple questions for us, Cardell. Where you want to start at?
Yeah, we're gonna start on the NFL side. Following their playoff loss, Cowboys back Ezekiel Elliott said he's open to taking a pay cut in order to stay with the team next season. The Dallas Morning News reported. Elliott, who's set to make $10.9 million in 2023, will reportedly look to negotiate his recent extended contract after a season that saw statistical lows and Tony Pollard emerged as the team's running back of the future. The three-time Pro Bowler signed a 6-year extension worth $90 million in 2019 and is entering the first year of the deal where he doesn't have any guarantees tied to his salary. Although not likely, Dallas could release Elliott and avoid paying him his $10.9 million salary for next season. Both sides have a mutual interest in getting a deal done. The 27-year-old was asked about his future with the Cowboys on Sunday after his team's playoff loss to the 49ers. He said, "I've definitely thought about it. I want to be here. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you the future, but I definitely want to be here." Octavia, your thoughts? Should they keep him? Should they let him roll?
I mean, excuse me. Jerry is probably, Jerry thinks the sun rises with Zeke, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. I personally, and I don't, and I understand why Zeke wants to stay there because I don't know where else he's going to go. To be completely honest, I literally thought about it the other day, and I'm like, who? Because if you really get down and think about it, there's not a team that has like a huge glaring like need at running back. Like somebody who would be willing to be like, yeah, Zeke could probably still be the Zeke of old. And I was really thinking, and the only team that I could possibly come up with would be Buffalo, just because I don't really think they have a really like solidified running back, but depending on what James Cook does next year, because I honestly think James Cook could be really, really good. So I understand why Zeke would say he wants to stay. And I mean, I think him and Dak are besties, so I'm sure he wants to stay because of that as well. But I think it's very noble of him to state that he's willing to, negotiate the contract, because a lot of people wouldn't. They'd be like, nah, I'm just keep my money and y'all will keep me. But knowing, to me, it kind of sends a statement that he knows that they need to do other things because, and I mean, think about it. I don't know who's even behind them because I don't know how long Pollard's going to be out. I think they say he might be ready at the beginning of the season, but he's up for a contract negotiation as well. And I think they're going to have to they were going to franchise tag him. So with the injury now, because I think they said he broke his fibula or his tibia, who knows what that changes, but we know the track record of that they still gave Dak money after his ankle injury as well. And I think Tony Pollard is a big, big piece to what they want to do, as long as he's able to come back off of that and still be the same runner that he was. So I'm not surprised Zeke wants to stay. I would be surprised if Jerry, gets rid of him. I think probably at the end of the day, they do negotiate a different salary. And he probably does stay a Cowboy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he should be willing to take less money. Because I mean the production just hasn't been there. Plain and simple, man. And I don't know if it's just he wants to stay so he can kind of get a resurgence in his career, and stay in a familiar place and try to, get his feet back up under him. But I mean, yeah, it wasn't. He doesn't have much of leverage in the situation, given Tony Pollard's emergence, and if he probably knew they was going to come to the table with that type of energy anyway, and yeah, if he bucked, then they probably would be fine, just cutting ties. But yeah, man, more power to him. It's always good to see somebody put the interests of winning before themselves. If that's what his goal is, then hats off. I hope it works. But yeah, I just don't think he had much leverage from jump.
Wilson.
I think he's a veteran. He understands what the business is right now, and you should want to renegotiate. Let everybody know you're willing to, because that'll probably lead to open up more suitors. I think multiple things can be true. He is an older running back. His production has been less than as of late. I'm not a big fan of how they try to use him to begin with, which is why I'm surprised why he's still there. But you chose to pay him that much money, and other people aren't going to pay him that much money, even if you do want him. So I'm interested to see where he lands. I just disregard the part about wanting to stay there. Like, I don't care. You, like Ray said, you're just beating them to the punch of, y'all both know when you go to that table, the first thing that's going to be said is, less money. So, that's good that you're saying it early. And that's all it is for me. But I don't think I'm not as down on him as a player, I think, as most people are. I think sometimes those type of running backs are like rhythm running backs. And when you're on the team, sometimes when you don't get a steady, when you get to that age where you can't get 15 to 20 carries, it's hard to be what you are, honestly, sometimes. And, I think, when Cardell, you were talking about a little while ago about sometimes with players and teams kind of staying past their times with places, he should have never re-upped. I'm just keeping it up. He should never re-upped. The way that they want to do things. And I think that's why Tony Pollard fits a little better. But Pollard comes from a background in Memphis, just like Antonio Gibson, where them dudes play wide receiver too. So that's why it's okay. Tony Pollard's going to produce, whether he's under set, where he's directly lined up behind Dak, he's standing next to Dak, or he's in the slot. Zeke, there's one way this is going to happen, and one way only. So it is what it is.
Let's say one more thing. I guess I didn't realize Zeke is 27, so it's not even like he's old. I don't know. I've always felt like sometimes the Cowboys have a track record of kind of running backs into the ground. Kind of happens. I always joke with my dad about DeMarco Murray. It's like they ran that man into the ground. He ran every day, every game, every down. But I'm hoping he could get it together because even I just looked at some of the Derrick Henry is 29, Nick Chubb is 27, Dalvin Cook is 27, Joe Mixon is 26, Christian McCaffrey, who had injury upon injury, is 26. So hopefully, I feel like I hope that he may be able to have a resurgence. I guess I didn't even realize 27 is not that old.
I think it's more about what Wilson's saying, how they using them.
Yeah, but that's what I said too. I feel like it's always been like that for not all Cowboys running backs, but
no, I'm talking about this season. They just ain't using right. I think they emphasize on passing. Going through that, more, which is what is consistent throughout the NFL. So they don't value running backs like that, even though they may still have some juice left. And you're right, 27 is not old in athlete years. That's just some suits upstairs pushing that crap. Come on, dog. You at least get to your early 30s as a running back. Then I get it. The wheels should fall off. Our running backs were really getting pumped, heavy carries, 30 carries going up the middle, getting smacked, and they were lasting in their 30s. So I'm telling you, in this past happy NFL now, running backs are old and they're early, and it's just some suits talking, spreading that job. But if they use him right and they coach to his strengths of what he could do, he might be productive, but we'll see. Moving on to the NBA side of things, this hurt my heart to hear. Warriors coach Steve Kerr reiterated his stance on advocating for a shorter NBA season after making the decision to rest several key starters last week into the second game of a back-to-back. Kerr said Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins in Friday's road loss to the Cavaliers after the Stars played heavy minutes in Thursday's 121-118 overtime loss to the Celtics in Boston. Thompson and Green each played 35-plus minutes, while Curry and Wiggins, who each have missed substantial time due to injury, logged 40-plus minutes. Speaking with reporters in Cleveland, prior to tip-off, Kerr, who's periodically rested stars in recent seasons, labeled the move as playing the long game in order to keep players healthy. He then explained that while he doesn't enjoy it when fans can't see their favorite players in person, shortening the regular season to 72 games would be the right call in order to help keep players healthy, even if it impacts the NBA's revenue. Kerr said, I feel terrible for fans who bought a ticket expecting to see someone play and they don't get to see that person play. It's a brutal part of the business. It's why I'm going to continue to advocate for 72-game seasons, and I know that means less revenue, but at some point I think there just needs to be an awareness for everybody involved in the league. Kerr's remarks echo similar sentiments he shared throughout the season. He addressed the issue prior to the Warriors' road matchup against the Pelicans, a game where Green and Thompson received a night off and Curry and Wiggins were out due to injury. Kerr said the league is trying to address it by softening the schedule some. I think about it all the time. People are spending good money to see a team, and if someone doesn't play, that's not something I'm ignorant to. I know that it's painful. We've had a lot of discussion with fans over the years who have been in that situation. But ultimately, the players' health is the number one factor in our team's success and even in our fan satisfaction in the long run because we want to keep guys healthy throughout the season. At the time, Kerr stated he would like the NBA to shorten the season to less than 70 games, but acknowledged any changes to the schedule are not believable at this time. Ideally, it's a 65-game season, and everybody plays every night. But good luck getting that pass. Maybe 70, he said. Ray, we're going to start with you. Just what are your thoughts on what Kerr said?
This whole conversation is just BS. And it's always going to be. You're paid to play 82 games, and unless you're physically unable, you need to be out there playing basketball. Like, I don't understand how this thing has even begun to gain traction. Like, but these guys are bigger, stronger, more advanced, and just vastly superior to anything we've seen before. But dudes was playing 82 games with far less, resources at their disposal. So I'm just not trying to hear it, man. With players, man, playing all 82 used to be a rite of passage and a badge of honor. Now guys willingly sit out games. And I mean, I understand sometimes it's the franchise, but if you're, especially these star players, if you wanted to play, you'd be playing. Like, I don't want to hear none of that. But yeah, shortening the season is not gonna matter because they just gonna sit out them games too. So like, we can just cut the nonsense. The schedule's 82 games. You need to play 82 games, plain and simple.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel like Steve said this because, look, you guys already know where I stand on it. I just think kind of even like the league knows, which is kind of sad, Loki, that the alternative is just not going to happen in terms of these dudes actually showing up on a regular basis, playing the games, physically getting to the place they need to be at. So to me, it just feels like Steve's resigned to that fact, and it's make it easier. I don't agree with it at all. I'm with you guys on it. People pay hard-earned money. There's a lot of money to go to professional sports games these days. To me, that's ridiculous. If you're hurt, you're hurt. But like the load management, other stuff, like in certain cases when people have injuries, sure, I get it. Like I'm talking about like critical, like I can't even think of the right word, but the type of injuries have to be managed for the length of their career. Cool, I could get that. Outside of that, I'm sorry, like chronic injuries. But outside of that, degenerative type stuff, right? Where it has to be managed. Outside of that, like I think it's ridiculous. Like you said, it's bigger, better, faster, stronger technology, blah, 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 blah. Soft. Like just soft. And I just feel like Steve's is just resigned to it. Like maybe at a time he would have said something different, but I'm not shocked. At first I was just like, you're saying this because of when you played? And then I sat back for a little bit and I was like, think about what it took for him who played, knowing what he came to the table with in that day that he played, knowing what he had to do just to survive out on that floor. He just all the way turned the switch off, just like, y'all are what y'all are, and it is what it is. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I was upset initially, but man, just y'all can have all this greatest stuff in the world. All of it means nothing to me. Lift again, and I bet you maybe, just maybe, your bodies will feel a little bit better. Maybe, just maybe, you can survive this grueling season. Like, the WNBA players go from college, they take a 34-game season playing each and every other night, trash transportation, horrible. Like, come on, man. Everything's chartered. Like, stop it.
Then go overseas and play over there, man. After the season, come right back.
The season
Get done with their season. WNBA started. Come right back.
Off the season, coming in mid-season.
And think about that. You're coming off your season, off one season. You don't even get a cool down period to hop in because chances are, depending on who you are and how long you're out there playing, because you're good, that team in that league where you're getting paid more is playing further into their postseason. Then you got to come save your WNBA team in some cases. And y'all complaining for what? If they can physically get through it because they have to, I want to hear it from y'all, man. But yeah, I'm not about to get mad anymore. Just know when I hear most whatever this it's because you got the energy for it, and we all know why you got the energy. I don't care.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they soft. it's just softness, like at this point, and it just like I was gonna say the exact same thing that we said. It was like if they shorten the season, they still gonna sit out those. It's like I bet you if you put it in a contract that they gotta play a certain amount of games, they get out there and play. You know, I bet you if you did that and say like, okay, if you don't play, 82 games in the season, you ain't getting this max contract. I bet you they get out there and play. It to me, it doesn't make any sense. And to sit in one breath to say, like, we know it sucks for the fans, and then to still do it is just ridiculous. Like, even the game tonight, the Celtics playing against the Heat, before the game started, they showed a little kid who had a sign who said, "We traveled 4,400 miles to see Jimmy Butler play." And Jimmy Butler's not playing because he has a sore back. And he was a late scratch. So now, granted, he may actually really be hurt. Not disputing those things. But I mean, this kid, he looked heartbroken. He looked heartbroken. So it's the ones where I think it's soft. And like you all said, like there's so much more technology nowadays where I don't understand how you guys are even getting these injuries with all of the resources that you had. I think there was a tweet a while back where Stan Van Gundy was saying how it's something wrong with the training that's happening. He was like, there's no way that we have more resources now. We're having way more injuries than we had, before. So I'll be honest, like it's starting to, I try not to let it bother me either, but I do get annoyed easily. And it is starting to become annoying, and it's making me not want to watch the game anymore. And that's what I hate. It's diluting the game for me. It's diluting the love I have for it, because I'm watching people that I don't really feel like love the game, but you out there getting paid millions of dollars and you just don't really care. So it's frustrating as a fan. I don't know like how I would feel if it actually happened. I just think it's bogus.
Yeah, for me, I agree with all y'all. It's definitely soft. I just feel like the pendulum done swung way too much towards what the players want these days, compared to when we was growing up. When David Stern ruled like a dictator in a sense. I kind of miss those days. You know what I'm saying now, because these they done abused the hell out the rope they done got. Like it's bad, and I feel like they robbing a lot of owners with no gun and ski mask. You know what I mean? And you starting to see a lot of former players coming to the side of how we feel too. They just like, hold up, dog. We had to do it. Y'all getting more money than ever. Some of y'all can't play dead. Y'all making more than stars did back in the day, superstars and stuff like that. And you complaining about playing. And I actually asked a friend of mine who's a strength and conditioning coach in the NBA, and I shared it with Ray and Wilson. A lot of it's because a lot of the medical staff and guys are people who come from overseas soccer teams. And so, I heard Steve Kerr saying the interview where he was just like the data and all that says that, their bodies, they need it. I'm like, yeah, but what data are you using? Are you using the data from like a background, like a soccer outlook, where the teams don't have the same wear and tear? They're playing 1 or 2 games a week. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's not realistic. It's 2 different sports. So if they're playing less, but they're still getting hurt more, something is wrong. Something is broken. And part of that is similar to football. You have to play so your body can be conditioned to play. Like, you can't ask somebody to just be on the track all day, getting in shape, being a wide receiver, then just storming an NFL game. They get blasted and you wonder why they hurt. Their body is not used to getting hit. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with basketball. If you're not used to contact, you're not used to constantly building your body up to be able to play basketball, you won't be able to last that long. And so the slightest contact and stuff, you will get hurt. And I can't tell you how many times, and I'm going to say, man, like Chris said, I can't tell you how many times he get hit with a basic just bump. And then you see him grimace, I'm like, bro, like, they don't practice, they don't lift, they don't do all the necessary things to be able to withstand an 82-game season. They're taking the easy way out every step of the way, and you wonder why things are the way they are. They don't practice. So you don't practice. You don't really have back-to-backs like that. They give you like an extra damn week for All-Star break. They give you an extra week before the playoffs start. They spread out the season totally. Y'all get hurt more still, yet y'all still want to miss games. Look, Charles Barkley had an interview today, and he said it. He's like, he interested to see what the owners can do because they've been very quiet. And he said, I hope the owners basically finish the players. Like, I hope because you got to get it back in order, because what's going to happen is I'm scared the NBA is going to become like boxing, where you see a bunch of people talking. Like, you see how boxing now, the top fighters do more talking than they do fighting each other. And I'm scared that's what the NBA going to be doing. Like, you need the stars to keep bringing the casual fan back, the people that's going to pay the bread. Otherwise, you're going to lose that. Then it's going to be hard to get back as baseball. You see what I'm saying? So baseball still haven't recovered. They still, when they lost the man, they still haven't got those people back. Most of those fans went to football, in the NBA. So they got to do something, man, because not only that, it's disrespecting the game. And whatever happens at the NBA trickles down to college, and it trickles down to high school. You're going to be seeing, like, high school players are starting to low manage. Like, seriously. And it's like, yo, you're playing 32 minutes a game, and y'all might play 16 games during the regular season. What the hell are you low managing, dog? You ain't got no job. Like, what's going on? You might got a little part-time job or something. You ain't got no bills, serious. Like, what are you low managing? You see what I'm saying? Then wonder why they ain't got a scholarship and stuff. Like, it's getting bad, man. So some got to give, man. I'm hoping the owners really do come with some force. Like, yeah, we're going to have to make this on NFL. Like, yeah, y'all want that bread. X amount of games got to be played, or we don't want to hear it. Oh, fine. We just have a lockout. But I guarantee you, my billions will last a lot longer than your millions. So that's just how I gotta go, man. Last question, then we up out of here. And this is just something I wanted to ask you. Y'all on it, obviously being part of the media fraternity. Look, Shannon Sharp opened Monday's show with an apology for his role in the sideline altercation with the Grizzlies and the father of Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant last Friday at Crypto.com Arena. He basically says, you have probably heard or seen Friday night at the Lakers. I want to apologize for my behavior. I preached for the last 6.5 years, responsibility and accountability. I take full responsibility for what transpired. It does not matter what Dylan Brooks said or how many times he said it. Me being a responsible person, me having a platform that I have and having so many people look up to me, I was wrong. I should have lowered the temperature in the arena. Instead, I turned the temperature up and let it get out of hand. My question to you guys is, what does it say about the state of sports journalism where they feel where not only is Shannon Sharp a part of the media, but he's a Hall of Fame player. So obviously he was on the other side being interviewed a lot because the Broncos were winning. He was one of the best players in the NFL over a period of time. What does it say about sports journalism where not only someone felt they couldn't check themselves, but that was actually like a lead story? Wilson.
This is teetering further into the abyss. You already got it where people don't take journalism's been dying little by little. Like, I feel like every 5 years it just gets worse. Not because, actual journalists, but just because you got people that hop in there, the switch for, integrity's out the window for the sake of clicks and views and attention and all that other crap. And this is the type of stuff that it justifies some of the people that believe in the crap anyways. And obviously, I'm not saying Shannon should lose his job. Like, he couldn't lose his job when, like, you employ Skip. So you can't really, I'm not gonna lie. Just that network can't be like, hey, don't act like that. When somebody else filmed 70 takes as a 60-plus-year-old man of throwing a jersey into a trash can, like the night before, like you don't have a leg to stand on. To, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being honest. Like, you couldn't even suspend Shannon because I'd laugh at you. Like, you can't. But then again, here we are. Someone's old enough to remember when Cold Pizza turned into what's it called and this, and it just kept building and building on the stupidity. And now here we are. So I'm not shocked in the least bit, but you too old to even be. What are you doing? Just what are you doing? Like, go watch the game, be quiet. That's it. Like, what your man Nick Wright got season tickets. He talks about it. We don't hear, we don't see him doing this stuff. What are you doing? Just go watch the game and be quiet. Then you talk about, then the apology was out. Don't get me started on apology. I ain't got time for that. That lost more respect for the apology. That was even worse. I would have rather you just not said nothing after you got the apology, apologizing to another grown man like, Dad, I did something. Like, that was too much for me. But it was just ridiculous. Like, honestly, it's ridiculous. And I wish I wasn't shocked. But this is why it's hard for other folks that do kind of like, I don't know, try to do right, and act with some integrity, have journalistic values, what have you. And then you got stuff like this. Yeah. Folks like us that try to do right and stick with where stuff should be instead of just being like, well, I feel like this, so this is what it is, and we're trying to shape and form your opinion. Like, those are the people y'all are letting do that. But shout out to y'all, I guess. I don't get it. But yeah, that's just, I got nothing.
Octavian.
Kind of everything what Wilson said. It's frustrating at times. Because like you said, some people make a mockery of journalists and journalism and the actual art of journalism and the actual study of it and the things that people really do to learn, the business. And what's also kind of whack to me is like Shannon, you wouldn't have liked it if somebody, was able to be that close to you during a Broncos game and talking all types of trash to you, like literally like at your bench, like right next to you. Like, don't get me wrong, I know during the games, like, the fans aren't that far from them, but I mean, they can't get to them like they can on an NBA court. It's just, it was just a bad look. It was just tacky and ghetto. And I feel like sometimes he takes this whole Shay persona a little bit too far. And I think he has to remember when he's on air and when he's not. Like, there's this thing called code switching that he needs to learn, that you don't always have to be Shannon Shay Sharp like every 5 seconds. Like, there is time to like chill out. You're watching the NBA game, you're watching somebody else do their profession. Yeah, I understand, the rah-rah of it in the moment, being a fan of something. But like, come on, man. It was just a lot. Like Wilson said, I'm not shocked at this point because nothing else shocks me when it comes to like sports and the things that go on, but it was just tacky.
Right.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. Plain and simple, man. Like, you a 50-something-year-old dude hooting and hollering and talking about who wants smoke. Like, dog, go hold your grandkids, man. Like, what are you doing? But I mean, he does the same thing on TV every day. Like, this profession has gotten, it's just gotten to a point where it's not even what we grew up on. Like, it's possible to have personality, and be vibrant without being a buffoon. Like Stuart Scott, like, he had all the personality in the world, and he brought another dimension to ESPN. Absolutely.
God rest his soul. That was my favorite.
And he wasn't on TV with a damn goat mask and Hennessy and a Black and Mild basically doing a minstrel show. Like, it's foolish, man. And I don't know why and how this has gotten to be what dominates the profession, but something need to happen to turn the other way, because for one, it's and I think Cardell says this often, like, the media is supposed to educate the fans who don't have that access and really tell them how the game works. But today, the media just spouts nonsense and gives these hot takes and all this other foolishness. So, like, you can't even like talk sports or anything anymore, because people bring these foolish agenda-based ideas that they see on TV and think that's intelligence. But Yeah, man, he should be ashamed of himself. But like Wilson said, that apology was he just made himself look more stupid, man. Like, and the fact that he has allowed himself to become a joke, one of the best tight ends ever, and now he's just reduced to the guy that's that's on TV arguing with the crypt keeper every day. Like, so, I mean, it is what it is. He brought it on himself. If that's what you want your your legacy to be after everything you accomplished on the field, then have at it. But yeah, at some point, real journalism got to come back.
Yeah, just quickly, so we get out of here. Yeah, and he's a Broncos legend. You know what I'm saying? He helped give me a lot of joyous days growing up when they were winning. You know what I mean? But he always talked in a sense, man. But this is what happens when you just let anybody into something without them having to work for it. One guy who I admire from afar, former athlete, like I am on the same sport, was Jalen Rose. I remember when I was in college, Jalen Rose was at the end of his career. He was just doing extra work for BET at the finals. He was putting in work. Best damn sports show. And I didn't know like what was going on at the time, what he was doing, but he was actually building his resume to what it is now. So he takes the media game serious. Went to school for communications. That was my minor. So it's people that put in work. When I got done, blew out my knee, moved the dime, they didn't just say, hey, go write a story. Here's the interview. We'll publish it. They made me learn how to write. Like I had to rewrite so many papers or articles. It wasn't funny before they would finally publish it. They were teaching me how to become a journalist, man. Then come to the arena. This is how you navigate. This is what you do. Boom, boom, boom. All right, cool. Yo, we need you to do this interview. We need it in by midnight. Deadlines. Boom, boom, boom. Then I got published. It was a step-by-step process to learning the craft, man. You know what I'm saying? All right, we know you was a college basketball player, but it's things you got to learn about this. So it can enhance what you know as a player, so you can be able to reiterate that when we educate the people. We've gotten so far from that. It's the people don't even trust the education no more. They're like, yo, you got the people thinking they know more than us, and we're at the game. Because they're like, we watching the TV, and y'all just giving us opinion. Well, my opinion is this. Why should I listen to yours? And one of the number one rules of journalism is you shouldn't have an opinion. It's facts only. But you wouldn't know that if you ain't go to, you know what I'm saying, you ain't go to school for this, or you haven't been trained properly for this. Some of these people just walk right off the field because they got a little cachet of personality. They get right in the game. And that's why I say, yo, don't say they're journalists. They're personalities. Those are two totally different things. You know what I'm saying? And you can't have it both ways. That was just a joke right there. That was a joke. Because, see, I done seen NBA players this season kick out fans for far less.
Yep.
So this man ready to take on a selective few because he ain't really go after the main dude that stepped to him. He ain't that dumb. So he ain't really want all that smoke. That was just talking. So because Steven Adams with a body slam is that old ass. So which is probably what he needs. Somebody need to be made an example of. But I'm like, you getting fans kicked out for the smallest of reasons, petty reasons. But man, this man was allowed to do that, then come back and sit at his seat and then enjoy all this hold me back surge on social media and stuff and thinking he tough. People talking about, man, you don't want to mess with Unc and all that. I'm like, get out of here, man. All that hold me back stuff don't mean nothing, man. You got to get to it if you're going to get to it. If not, you just talking. So it looks foolish, man. And now, just like social media today, it's a bunch of people who saw him act like that and get a lot of attention. So don't be shocked to see more people try to do that to get the attention, try to get in any media game. And then it's going to turn into a clown show, and then we're all going to pay for it. Because they're going to be like, yeah, we got to move media way further up. Y'all can't have this access no more because it's just too crazy. It was despicable, and it was just like you said, it was clown shit. Like, you 50 years old, dog. Matter of fact, you at the game, you should be seen. You shouldn't even be seen, honestly, unless they put the camera on you. You wave, Hall of Famer, you keep it going. You shouldn't even be heard. What are you talking trash to Dylan Brooks for? If you talk trash to an athlete, you know they're gonna fire it over. You see Reggie Miller, and I saw people trying to use that as an excuse. Well, Spike Lee did it. Spike Lee's a fan, he's a celebrity. He's not a journalist, not in media. It's different. It's a totally different thing. And even then, what did Reggie Miller do? Put him in the game. And then he's on the front of the paper feeling embarrassed. Even his wife was embarrassed by that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you saw the whole exchange. So, Shannon, why are you going to even duplicate that? You know how this going to go because you gassed up because you got a hard on you seeing your man LeBron play. Like, oh, come on, man. We got to be better than this, man. Like, damn, dog. Like, that was just a sad time, and it was just pathetic, man. And it made me not even want to associate with like other journalists. I deal with y'all and everybody else, some select few, but everybody else be like, I don't know them dudes, man. Like, they do what they do. I do what I do, and I go home because you just don't want to be attached to that. Because it seems like if you're part of that minstrel show, you get grouped with them, and he ain't the only one with the goat mask and all that stuff like that. It's another dude wearing pinky outfits, doing a bad impression on. Like, come on, man. It's becoming a sideshow, man. And honestly, our people the only one doing it. Go figure.
How about that as a conversation for another day? But I'm gonna let that sit right there. Some of y'all like what y'all like. I'm not gonna tell you you're right or wrong. We appreciate y'all that tune in each and every week. And you have the freedoms to tune in, not tune in. Like what you like, don't like it. That said, be another exciting week of sports. Like I said, we'll be back next week. We'll know who's playing in the Super Bowl after this week, right? I believe, yeah. We'll have an idea, which means we have 2 weeks to talk about it technically. Thanks for tuning into The Focus. Don't forget, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on our Roku channel. All you have to do if you have a Roku television or device. Real simple. In the search box, type in The Focus TV, double tap OK on the remote, and you've added our channel. Obviously, you get this show each and every week, the latest installments, Wizards Outlook, anything else we got going on that ends up on the channel as well. For those of you who watch on DCTV, you guys already know Friday nights at 10 p.m., Saturday at 4:30. If you live outside the city limits, you can't get DCTV on your television. You can watch your DCTV at dctv.org. You can just stream. There's 3 channels. You can stream it right there. The schedule is up on the site as well. But y'all have a good week. And for some of y'all, we see y'all in a little bit for Wizards Outlook.